indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. So moved. Second on that?
Second.
Stand by. All right, this is the ad hoc subcommittee meeting of the Plymouth Board of Education. It was called to order at 6 p.m. We had called to order and pledge a flag. Adoption of the agenda. Motion was made by Greg Shower, seconded by Melissa Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item number 3 is the financial update year to date. I'll turn it over.
Would you like to present, or would you like me to? Or we can do it together.
Let's try it together and we'll go from there.
You got copies?
Come over and sit.
Sure. So Matt and I, well, really Matt has been doing a lot of work on this report. This is a similar report that we presented last month. It's a summary of the 18-page document you received, which I think is a nice way to look at it. Just like last month, it starts in the first column with the budget column, 24.775 million. Year-to-date actuals is 6.9 million, with 28% of your adopted budget. On track. Encumbrances, Matt, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, the encumbrances in the last report did not have any of the annual payroll figures that were, run us out through the rest of the year. And then, so this past couple of days, started Monday, yesterday, we were able to run the report with the payroll encumbrances, and I thought it was important that we put those in now, so we get an idea of what our budget's going to look like with the known payroll in it. But there are plenty of other items, as you can see, about almost $3.5 million worth of expenses that have not been encumbered yet. Some of those things we're working through with Infinite Visions, for example, pension costs and so forth are not encumbered yet. We haven't exactly figured out how to get that to show in the report. We know what the numbers are, but we don't know how to get it to show on a consistent basis. So I had tweaked David's original spreadsheet a little bit to show you actual and encumbered, so you can kind of see where we are with actual, so it will move all the way out towards the end. So I'll just keep moving it out each month so that you have an idea of where we are with the budget.
There was a question last month about same period of time reporting year over year. It was a good question. We did look back when we switched accounting systems. We lost the historical data because the account strings don't align between the two new accounting systems, so we can't provide you the comparative from last year to this year at the same time.
So we lost it like it's gone?
No, it's still there. I mean, the information is still available. But there's no easy way to do a comparison. Exactly. There are two different systems, two separate charts of accounts, two different account strings. So it's just it could be done. It would just take an awful lot of time, and the value for that time would probably not be best spent.
So can we, even if you can't print it for us, can you just make sure that you report out to that, we're within a reasonable amount? Because we don't want to be all of a sudden we're in March and we're at 85% when we should be at 65, something like that. I would for me personally, I would want to know that. You don't have to print it, but if somebody can, you know,
So I think that's a really good question. I think there's a couple ways I would think about that. The first one is the actual expense at 28% for the first 4 months of the year. So that gives you a general idea of where we are year to date. That'll help. We talked a little bit about last month, which is we know we're looking at a surplus in salaries of about $150,000, and we've received a little over $300,000 in one-time state grants through the CRF and the that's not me.
Hit your red button on your watch. Your watch called somebody.
That is weird. Sorry, excuse me. So we know we're too good on certain things. This is an unusual year. And I think we all kind of know that, you know, with how schools are operating, we're going to try to be very, very conservative as we get into the year. So we actually may be a little under where we were at this point last year, just because there's a lot of unknowns. But there is funds starting to be freed up. It's just taking a while for them to come.
so going forward, can we do it like starting next year, have a comparison?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we'll have the historical data
Yeah.
and infinite visions from this year, we'll be able to do that comparison.
So is it hard to look back and say, like, for the next meeting, saying, well, last year you were at 33% of your budget and we're kind of in the same, we're in the ballpark of where you were
I'm gonna
last
say this to you, over the past 4 or 5 years, you know, we're within usually maybe a percentage, not more than 5. So we've always been on track. Like last year, we were ahead by like 1 or 2 points constantly because we were constantly paying the insurance ahead of time, which is fine. I just don't want to all of a sudden be out of whack, and then it'll be a surprise to us. We wouldn't want that, so that's all. That's what you would kind of get
I think
into.
there might be a way to get a higher level summary so we can do a comparison. We'll look into that for you.
Okay.
What I can tell you is just kind of looking at your numbers at right now, we're actually trending, they're pretty good at this point. But again, it's one of those years we just
I
don't
could
know what's
swear
ahead of us.
right around last year, we were in like the low 30%, like 32.
I'm seeing that kind of across the board. We're all
Yeah.
about, 3 to 5 points under where we were the prior year.
Mhm.
And then there's a lot of reasons for that.
I apologize.
No,
It's important.
it's a really good question. And I think it's a good, kind of as Matt's kind of building a report that you're comfortable with, I think this is the time to kind of work out those details.
Yeah.
So going forward, it's a summary that you can see and engage kind of the health of the school at any given time. And I think that's important.
If you guys are all set, we're all set.
Some of the accounts are already in the negative. Is there,
The only one that runs in the negative is health services. And it's $6,900. It's not a significant amount of money. And that is mostly, it's salary is what drove it into the negative.
We have an employee that is on a leave, and it still may be encumbered even though she's not tracking the time, meaning that it hasn't, even though we're not paying her for a period of time because of the leave, it still may be encumbered in this report.
like
With-
equipment under Terryville High School is in the negative of 12,000?
You're looking at the total detail page.
Yeah,
What page are you looking at?
Clinic Center custodial.
13 for that one. Like maintenance on page 12 is in the negative by 4,000. Custodian supplies is in the negative by 2,400.
Oh, this is an easy answer to all of these. There's actually going to be a bunch that are in the negative right now. You're going to see some in technology as well. Like if you really focus down on technology, we're in a net deficit of almost 40,000 plus in that area.
Mhm.
It's because we've received the grants, but we haven't drawn them down and offset them from these accounts.
Oh,
So if you look at like custodial or technology, we have the grants approved at the state level. We haven't drew them down and then offset the expenditures we've already had against them for the PPE and hand sanitizers and all those other things. The one-to-one program and some of the computers are also sitting at a negative just because of that. But the good news is this week, those grants were approved at the state level. So it took them a while to get there. We are November. It's been how long? 10 months since this started. But we have money that's actually been approved now and we drew it down. So It's just a matter of offsetting those. So that's the positive. It's taken a while to get there, but we got there.
Okay.
Good question.
When is the bus, we get it twice a year, bus and reimbursement? One should be coming, right, soon, or is that just March?
Mhm.
We get it twice a year.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, because that's negative 160.
Yeah,
I
but
know
that's
that.
always
Yeah,
negative,
something.
so we
It's
just
always
wait
because
for
we get
reimbursement,
reimbursed for the
yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Oh, it's twice a year.
It is,
It
it
is
is twice a year. I'm not sure exactly what the timelines are for that.
I don't know.
Any other questions on the financial? Accounting system transfer reconciliation study?
So I had asked for this to be put on the agenda. So a couple things I just want the board to be comfortable with. One, I think the transition between accounting systems went very well. The audit that we're going through right now is in great shape. And it's, no material deficiencies. I expect the report to say the same thing. Paul left you in good shape from that perspective. I had no doubt. I mean, he was very good at what he did. So one of the challenges you have when you switch accounting systems is the system itself is different. So setting them up, configurations within the system, and one of the things we were talking about last week, which is items like encumbrances. You can run a report and it may not show those encumbrances, even though they're encumbered for salaries, because there's a box check that says suppress encumbrances on reporting functions. This district has transitioned accounting systems at the same time we're transitioning business managers. And that's always, I want to make sure you're set up for success. So the thought was we could reach out to the contractor, right, the software company, Visions, which is really one of the leading accounting software in not only Connecticut, but the country, and do a reconciliation check just to make sure, one, the account settings are correct, the offsets are correct, we're recording things in the right account strings. It's more of a follow-up to the transition. So it's been a multiple month process to transition accounting systems. And we're at the point now where we're fully in IV and it works really well. And I know the system, I'm comfortable, I've looked through it as best I can. What I think would be really helpful, instead of doing a full second audit, because you're already in an audit right now, is just having Infinite Visions come out, take another look at the settings, configurations, now that we've got Matt on board, and just get everybody comfortable with the system and how it's used and make sure the settings are the same. So we don't get 6 months down the road and realize, oh, we had an offset wrong and we weren't recording health insurance costs in the right account or properly. Some of these things can be a little bit complicated when you're configuring them. If you don't have the answers or you're not paying attention, you could sometimes get a box get checked wrong and it's just not reporting correctly. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your accounting system. It may be set up perfect, but I think it's worth getting a second set of eyes on this in the short term, getting that person comfortable with Matt and a relationship built there. I think going forward, that'll really benefit the district. I don't anticipate this costing, it would be a nominal expense, a couple $1,000s at most. But I think it would be well worth your time and effort, just kind of as an insurance, really more for the board than anything else. And that's why I put it on the agenda.
Any questions on that? All right, item number 5. I'd like to entertain a motion to enter an executive session at 6:14 p.m. to discuss the addendum to the facilitators directors agreement, inviting in Mrs. Turner, interim superintendent, Mr. Fiorilio, interim business manager, and Mr. Tenza, business manager. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Melissa Johnson, seconded by Mr. Showers. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now in executive session. I'd like to entertain a motion to resume regular session at 6:38 p.m.
So moved.
by Melissa Johnson, seconded by Greg Showers. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 7, possible action from executive session. I'd like to entertain a motion to move the addendum of the facilities directors agreement as discussed in the ad hoc subcommittee meeting to the full board for their approval. Do I have a motion? by Melissa Johnson, seconded by Greg Chowers. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right, item number 8, public comment. If we do have any public comment, please remember, it's 3 minutes per speaker. Please state your name and address for the record.
No comments.
Showing no public comment, we will move to item number 9. I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment at 6:39 PM. Motion made by Greg Shower, seconded by Melissa Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.